Well,
happening?
guess what, guys? I have the Aman Segal. Go back, way back in California. Try to collaborate many projects in the entertainment industry. Aman, welcome, man, to a Facebook, social media, Zoom. Everybody is on it. Tell me, how hard are you been hit? Now, give you a background. Aman has been around in production, in a mainstream production, and in Hollywood. You have done many projects, feature films. He has won many awards in music videos, been traveling internationally, and has been a key player as a South Asians in Hollywood of changing the game. Aman, and that's Aman Siegel, boys. Everybody knows him in US. He doesn't need any introduction. How is our industry has been affected in Hollywood, bro? What are we doing? What's going on?
Everything is shut down right now, so um, absolutely nothing's going on.
I know I've been talking to a
Can
bunch
you
of
hear me?
friends. Yeah, yeah, I can hear you fine. I know you've been involved in many productions. I was always follows you on the Facebook, and I know you've been around the traveling around the world. How hard has been affected? And I know the production has been stopped. I've been the news is some of the studios are reopening in some of the states. I know quite few of the production are moving from Los Angeles to some other states. What are you guys plans are? What are you guys doing?
Yeah, so I mean, like Tyler Perry is opening up because he can have an actual physical hospital on his property. So
Right.
he's opening a hospital. He's gonna have a hotel and a hospital in Georgia and Atlanta, to where all the crew they go out there, they stay there. The talent, everybody stays on the lot, and if anybody gets sick, there's a hospital on the studio lot that he's built, an actual hospital with doctors and nurses. So, um, Los Angeles, there's nobody has that, you know. So they're talking about, you're gonna have to you're gonna have to house everybody in hotels. Um, and then the other thing is insurance hasn't been figured out on who's gonna people get sick and whatnot. So
But see,
is it
Aman,
going to shut
Aman,
down? So
so
that's
these are big studios, big production houses, the independent production houses, independent producers such as yours and many others. What are you guys dealing, man? I mean, how I know the life has been completely shift and changed for all of us around the world, but we need to survive and we need to open and we need to get back to work. So, what is the strategy now in our industry? What we're looking at to moving forward.
yeah. Me personally, my gut instinct is saying, if everybody would just stay home and lock down, this COVID would diminish. But everybody's running around, nobody stays home, so uh, people are getting sick, and so that's not helping us right now. So, but yeah, I know we need to get back to work, and so I'm there's this competition. Do you know Labid
Yeah, yeah, of
Aziz?
course, Labid Aziz, of course. Yeah, yeah. Great
So
actor and
he
producer.
so he just started a competition that was just on Deadline. There was an article on Deadline about his competition dealing with telling stories, dealing with COVID, and so he's giving five five production companies funds to produce a movie. So he's going to produce five independent low budget features. So he's like, I mean, they're pretty much promoting that small production companies like myself, like they want us to get back to work.
Right.
So they want us, So I don't know if I get chosen to make a film, then I'm gonna do it.
Aman, I mean, with your expertise and your experience, I mean, you've been involved in many projects back home, in the and commendable projects, man. I remember one of the music video that you did, and you won awards around the world. And I know you've been developing feature films. You've been doing so much productions around, not just on in US. I know one of the festival that you did was, and then we were trying to collaborate on one of the festival in Doha as well too. The one of the art
Yeah.
festival that you did, and it combined music with the films. Tell me a little bit about it. And I know, I followed that. It was amazingly done. It was on a smaller scale, but a brilliant idea. Now I know quite few of the film festival, big giants, Tribeca, Cannes. They're all collaborating and doing digital, online, social. The festival. What's your take on those? These online film festivals, man.
Oh, I mean, for me, it's all about the experience, and I just don't feel like you get the experience.
Right.
Not the same with, Zoom. You know, so I don't know if we're gonna go digital. I think we're just not gonna have a festival in 2020, and then we're just gearing up for 2021, because what you miss out on with these Zoom experiences is you miss out on the actual experience. And what I'm talking about is what's important to people like me and you is the actual meet and greet,
Exactly.
where you get to eat. That's actually probably, I think that's how we met at American Film Market, probably,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely true. I think no, before we met before AFM with some mutual friends, but we've been very active on the AFM. I think the point is, producers like us or the people in the industry meet and greet, interact as well to actual physical, the meetings, get to see the films, interact with the people, and then in our business
Yeah,
everything happens not at the festivals, out of the festivals.
yeah,
Relationships gets developed. You get to see the actual films. So I have a different take of this online digital festivals. Great platforms, but I don't think personally that will be as effective for the real people who are actually doing the work. Okay, yeah, for this all these newcomers and wannabes, get to know, but the people who are actually doing the work, they need to be on the ground. They need to have a face-to-face meetings. We need to see the films. We need to meet the buyers and the distributors.
yeah, yeah. Exactly. It's exactly that. I mean, that's how, you and I would see each other we would know we would see each other every year at the market. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like, definitely run into each other at the festival, at the markets, or whatever. And that's how things develop, and that's how you build. At least in my experience,
Right.
coming from having no relationships previously, coming to LA by myself, not knowing anyone. Um, that's how I built my relationships, and it took me a long time, but that's how I eventually did it. Because once you get familiar with the people, you get to see everybody, then there's trust built. You
Right.
don't build them, so I don't really see any benefit from doing these digital festivals.
Also, Iman, there's also a lot of talks of developing the film market online. What's your take on that one? I still, I still have the same opinion in terms of the film market, or whether the film market or whether it's the festivals. But there, I think quite few people are talking in terms of creating an online digital film market online, connecting buyers and distributors and producers together. That may no, right?
I don't know. I mean, maybe for me, I just don't feel like it's going to benefit me.
Right.
Um, I mean, if I were to do a digital platform, I made everybody a jury
Right.
member. So everybody that comes on gets the opportunity to vote on their favorite film and make it gamify it. And but then what happens is you have a bunch of people um, putting in their 2 cents on movies that have nothing to do with
And
making
I have no
movies.
clue how. Yeah, exactly. Then
You
yeah.
know, then it becomes like, well, who's got the best social media and who can drive the most votes, and that's all bullshit too.
And
Because
they can trash the freaking film without even knowing the what actual film is, and then kind of amount of hard work that goes into. As a producer, is what it takes just to even get the funding, the most important part of it, and the rest is another story. But getting the funding first, I think after the funding, production is, we all get it done, and then getting it out there for the distributors or the theaters or the now there's a lot of digital platforms. So I hear you.
yeah, So I think, I mean, as of right now, I think it's all about the micro audience. It's all about, um, you know, catering to your who you have in your pool. You know, your Instagram feed, your Facebook feed, and creating content for that. Um, or it's all about skeleton crews, tiny small crews, and doing like you know, small stories contained. um so you know, what I'm submitting to Labid's competition is probably a story that takes place in a house with two people. You know what I mean? So that's just where we are right now.
Hey, we can contribute. You know, I've been in Doha, Qatar for past 3 years. And if you know, I've been on the exhibitor side of it and gave me the opportunity, you know, been the broadcasting and the distribution I went on 20 years ago, gave me a lot of experience, came down to this part of
Yep.
the world. And now on the, you know, once you know the production and you know the distribution, you know, learn the game, you know, again, you know, interacting with the film market, attending festivals and collaborating. I think what we learned from each other in years of times, you know, some works, sometimes we didn't work, but then we sat down in many projects, you know, starting to development and ideas. But I think what I got out of it in 5 years or 7 years in the industry, in the film industry, not I'm not talking about the television side of it, we've learned a lot from each other and gained a lot of experience. In other words, that if some newcomers comes in and start bullshitting me, I can, you know, wet him out within within, whether it's a distributor or an agent or production or financer. We know if this guy is a legit or not legit. Now, what I was coming down to, you know, coming from the now the, having worked in the exhibitor side of it, it gives you different kind of a high now, because, you know, we're not releasing one film, we, you know, array of film that we release, and you learn how the footfall, how the demographics works on the beach of what film works maybe in the US, what film may not work in Middle East, work in Middle East, may not work in US. So I've learned that. It was a great experience. Now, what I was coming down to, what you mentioned, Labid, and you know, and first of all, you know, guys, you know, the South Asians in US and especially in California, this movement started, or the South Asians came into the industry 25, 30 years ago, and it has been almost, I would say, before I used to say 20 years. Now, you know, I've hit 50, so it's 30 years of South Asians who have struggled and made their way. And I know Hollywood Impact has been doing great work. Now Farhan Tahir has been there. Labid Aziz, I know Labid Aziz for years when they were all struggling, came in, and now they have
Yeah.
made it, you know, on the other side, the great, I mean, Aziz Ansari, my boy, what's his name? You know, you know, the White Castle boy.
Oh, I'm blanking on his name. Yeah.
And I know, yeah, the actor was huge on the White Castle. I remember 20 years back, we all used to get together as an South Asians and actors, and it's been a great journey for us. But I think, Aman, I think finally South Asians have made it. They made the mark in the Hollywood industry. Now we're not typecasted anymore. We still are, but I think we've been written in a great characters are there. A lot of productions are happening as well. So I think things have changed a lot. What's your take on it? I think we have made it. We have made it, and South Asia. All the struggle is still on.
Struggle is still real. Um, you know, it's um, no, the struggle is still there. People getting opportunities that they should be getting, in my opinion. There's still a long way to go. Um, you know, with that being said, yeah, there have been some people who've, uh, you know, who have gotten their opportunities, but there's still a lot of people who have not gotten
Right,
opportunities.
right.
You know, who deserve opportunities. So, um, you know, it's a long play. Being in this business, it's like who has the staying power, who's able to like put up with, you know, struggling. You know what I mean? I've struggled for decades, and who any person with the, you know, with the right frame of mind would have been like, I'm getting the hell out of here.
Right,
You know,
right.
um, or I'm just making a change. I think the people who just stick with it eventually will break through. But I think um, Asians in Hollywood in general still have a long way to go. There's still a lot of um,
Red tape that we have to cross.
you might
Carl,
think that we're not being typecast, but yeah, there's a lot of that still happening,
so we
and
still have a lot of red tape to cross. I know, I do understand, but I still feel Carl Penn. I think Carl Penn, our boy. I remember
oh,
Carl Penn when we used to all hang out, and now is he have one of the few who have made it big. God bless him, mashallah. All the power to him, and he have kind of paved the road for a lot of us. I know I completely agree with you. Been with you. With all of my friends back home, and then it's almost 25 years of struggle. I guess I went to the broadcasting side, a little bit of a safer zone, but once you jump into the film, it's always a challenge. And even though you made a great film and men winning awards, but challenge remains the same of producing a second one or the third one,
yeah.
pretty much. Aman, what's your take on it? Coming from what do you think of in cinema? Talking about being selfish and coming from the cinema industry now, been for past 3 years, I've been very embedded in the cinemas, been working on the marketing and the film distribution side of it, and now have gone into development side of the cinema. So within the cinema industry, you know, uh, I think the fear or the question is when this pandemic goes over, when we open the cinemas, the footfall. Do you think the moviegoers, the moviegoers who actually wants to see the cinemas lovers, will the cinemas will survive? I mean, I've been talking to few friends of mine. They say they cannot wait for the cinemas to open. They will still go to the cinemas to the movies, or that trend has been changed or shifting or
No, no,
changing.
no. I, I don't think so. I think that's it goes back to the experience, right?
Right, right.
People are saying, "Oh, we can do festivals online and digital." The experience is different,
And now
and
this Netflix and Hulu and Amazon has gone really big on the streaming platform, which is great. But cinema is still again in cinema. Yeah.
exactly. The cinema. I mean, look at this. The drive-in theater. People are having to go to the drive-in theaters because that's the only safe way to see a movie in theaters, and they're packed. And the drive-in movie theaters disappeared a long time ago,
Right, right. So at least that's coming back, right?
right? If this then people are going to have that type of experience. But if we can figure out a solution to this COVID, um, I think there is going to be a residual of fear. People will slow, you know. But I think eventually, yeah, you don't get that experience. Going to the movies is going out and seeing a movie is such a fun experience that you can't get with Netflix and you can't
Right.
get with television. Um, so yeah, the movie theaters I don't feel are going anywhere. Um, you know, what do they have to do to increase the experience? Maybe expanding to video game competitions. Watching like world, like people using one screen so that people can watch these these in the world championships in Australia. You know what I mean? I think that would be a cool experience
No, I think
for people to go to the theaters.
movie experience have changed now. It's not the old-fashioned way where we just want to go see a movie, grab a Pepsi, popcorn, or maximum a nachos. Now it's a whole different world when you go to the movie experience. We have IMAX going on, 4DMAX going on. We have
Yeah,
now we have ScreenX. As a matter of fact, one of the recent company that I was working with, we were the first one in Qatar of putting up a ScreenX cinemas, one of the theaters. I don't know if you know, a lot of people know about ScreenX, where you have 360 kind of a view where you have three screens around it. It's a great, it's about 3,000 screen has been, movie theater has been equipped with Screen X. So movie, the cinema going is not the same as a traditional, every cinemas, theaters or companies are
Yeah.
struggling and then trying to be different and bring in the experiences. I mean, we start doing a lot of live broadcasting and world matches as well, too, sport matches. So I get it. The question is, Aman, the pandemic would have done has hit the industry, even though now it's just I see it also positive way is there's so many other outlets. Cinema was always was there and will be there, but there's so many other outlets have come in. So you have more producers like you. I've gone more on the exhibitor side of it, but producers like you have more in terms of a platform to produce more content. So what is your take on producing the content for the digital media platform, and has it been successful? If you see Netflix now, especially from India, there's a lot of great content has been coming out and has been watched greatly and been doing really good numbers. And I know you've been around. I remember it so well. There was a time we had a conversation, I don't remember, 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, when you used to talk about when this digital phone did not came out. There's you said, Assad, and I think you were working on with your father. I remember very well as well that everything is going to be on this phone. That time I did not get it, Aman. But you had that the foreseen. It was brilliant. And then
Yeah.
guess what we
But
are.
that might that might have been 10 years ago, 10,
Yeah,
15 years
yeah,
ago. Yeah. I mean, but once again, that still doesn't cinemas are not going to go away. That doesn't take away, even though everything has moved to mobile, and not only mobile, but also vertical content, right? So they're
right,
starting to create content like this, versus this,
right,
and storytelling like this. They're starting to tell stories like this, where I've done like some projects where the whole film is done like this.
right.
So that's a different experience, and that's never going to replace the theatrical experience. And that's the theatrical is what everybody. I don't care what you make, if you make commercials or TV
You want it on
or
the big screen, yeah.
be on the big screen, and that's where you want to be.
Right.
And that's how cinemas should be treated, and that's how people should treat it, is like, this is like an experience. And like you said, you're expanding on that experience with the multiple screens. Maybe it's the dome experience or whatever. But I think the only way that it doesn't matter like what bells and whistles you have, it all boils down to the stories. The stories, right now people are excited about superhero pictures and comic book stories, but I'm looking forward to the time when people are excited about like movies, movies that are just good stories, and they're like, I want to go to the movie theater and see that on the big screen.
Aman, I want to ask you, that raises a very good question in terms of, stories. Number one is story, script. But how important, with the story and a script is the production value behind it?
Well, are we talking about cinema? Or are we talking like theaters? Or are we talking about...
In general, I mean, if you want to get the script, you want to get it out there. I mean, at the end of the day, your first goal is to get it on the cinema. I mean, the way the dynamics works, first you finish the film, goes to the theatrical run. After theatrical, it goes on to the television and the online digital platform. That's how it is, right? Theatrical, ancillary, and then digital. But a lot of people there to talk about, as long I've got there's so many people or producers that I talk to, or I get messages. I've got a great script. And now everybody wants to be on Netflix. And I know there's certain criteria, production value that, requirements, specs that all this digital platform, whether Netflix, now Hulu is coming in a big way, bought by Disney or Amazon. How can you educate, or what's your take on it? having a great script, but the production value, in order for you to, depending, I mean, if you're doing it, fine. If you want to go to social media platform and get high on 100,000 likes or on YouTube, that's a completely
Right.
different story. But if you want to get in professional, get it on the theatrical, or if not even a theatrical, or getting into the Netflix series or on digital platform. What's your take on it?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you notice, like, I mean, if you see, like, Bollywood, for example, like, how they've, like, elevated their production
Right.
value
Yeah.
from LA to come to shoot those. You
Right.
know, Alan is in LA, but with that being said, that doesn't mean that Australia can't shoot or um, India, you know, a full Indian crew cannot pull it off. But the truth of the matter is um, the highest of the high production value is in Los Angeles. That's where the value is in the people.
Right.
Want to make a movie on that scale, on that level, then you have to get them from Hollywood. That's just the way it is.
As the technicians, is
Yeah,
the crew, right?
the
We
crew.
all,
Exactly.
yeah,
And
agree.
you know, people don't think about that electrician, but that electrician, um, he lights the movie, you know, and if you want that Roger Deakins-esque um, look, I would recommend hiring Roger Deakins' crew,
Right.
you know, and bumping them up in the credits, you know, so maybe you get his electrician and make him the gaffer on your
There you go.
movie.
Right.
You know, you're going to get that quality. It might not be Roger Deakins, but it'll be pretty close,
Right.
you know.
At least you have a movie which now, sorry to cut you off, when they come to us as distributors or exhibitors, I've got a great movie. When you look at the movie, it's a great movie, but it looks like shit.
Yeah, yeah,
If you want to make it on the mainstream, you've got to put effort to it. You've got to
yeah,
put technicalities and expertise, and in terms of professional has to be behind it.
for sure, for sure. I
And
mean,
then they realize, okay, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars, but my movies is not getting in distribution. It's like, okay, that's
yeah,
why, buddy.
but yeah, but that's also, you also have to know, like, you got to be realistic. Like, you know, if I'm making a movie for $150,000, it's probably not going to make it to the cinema.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's probably going to make it. My best shot is video on demand. So knowing that, you know, I'm not going to blow you know, all my money on getting Roger Deakins, knowing that I don't have any shot of making it into this. You know, I'm being realistic.
Yeah,
You know
realistic,
what?
you know what your budget is, and you have to, very important when the broadcasting, we should know, you ask me what I'm going to shoot on 4K. Well, like, dude, if your delivery on that particular network is 1080, there's no point of
Yeah,
shooting 4K. Shoot it in 2K or 1080 and bump it on 2K. So if you're
yeah,
shooting a movie of 150, you're going to digital platform, and every producer, every director wants to shoot the film and wants to think of the Oscar. But again, it takes years to be realistic. So I want quickly, I know it's getting late for you. Quickly, if I ask you, in
no, I
years
just
of
want
time that you have, what has been your real struggle in the industry, and what you have learned, and how you're changing your game now of years of expertise, what you have gained? Where are you now, and where are you going in the future?
that's a good question. I mean, I'm still, you know, I'm still struggling with where am I going? You know what I mean? Like, what is all this leading to?
And
Um,
sorry, I'm going to hold you right there. I'm going to tell you guys, Aman has been in California for years, and then 10 years or 15 years, you have done, I would say, from $10,000 project to millions of dollar project. And I'm not just bumping up the numbers. You have done a low budget films from, I would say, it would be very right to say $5,000 budget to up to $5 million a budget. So that's where the experience of 15 years of producing from 5,000 to $5 million production on be around of millions of dollars of higher production as well too. So just to give you guys his background. So that advice is extremely important. Listen to guys very carefully.
yeah, I think my takeaway is, but what I wanted to go back to is, you know, we were talking about just one point on making a movie and what you need to do. it's all about working backwards, reverse engineer. So where you can end up, you were saying, you know, they deliver in 1080. You might want to think about not shooting in 4K, you know, and working back.
Right.
Okay, if you're delivering in 1080, then work from there and work backwards, right? How much money do I have? Because if you shoot 4K, you might not have the money for storage, for editing, for post,
right.
you know. And there's still a lot of networks only taking 1080. You know, Discovery, for example. If you do a show for Discovery, it's only 1080. So you want to be mindful of what format you're shooting in. But back to your question, where do I go from here, and where do we go from here? You know, I read this book called Follow the Cheese. It's a small little book. It's about some mice, and they eat some cheese, and then they can't. They're hungry, and so what do? One of them's like, I'm just gonna wait right here. The cheese will come, and the other one's like, I'm gonna go out and find the cheese. And that's where I'm at. I'm going out and I'm gonna find the cheese, and I'm just gonna follow it. And so if it takes me to Labid's project, then cool, I'm gonna do that. If it takes me to Africa, like I did, then I'm gonna do that. If it takes me, and I'm just gonna keep going. And that's kind of where I am with my creative experience. But also on the other end, I'm building for the long term. So I'm developing scripts for 3 years from now, for 5 years from now, so that when it is time for us to meet at the market, or you know, then I have the scripts and I'm like, we're ready to do these. But right now I'm doing other people's projects, and just whatever people want, and that's what I'm doing right now. And when we get back to it, that's what I'm going to do.
So I think the
so
key,
that for
the
me,
key,
that's been working for
the
me.
key is to keep going, you know, and then I think we've come this far, 20, 25 years in industry, we cannot go back. And I think this is the industry of, and it has, obviously it's a bread and butter. It was a passion before. Now it is a bread and butter, and that's the only thing, you know. And people ask, okay, Assad, you know, we lost our jobs, cinemas are closed. Do something else. I'm like, okay, do what? This is the only thing we know, you know. No, I get it, But just to give you a, you know, just to give you a little bit of a brief of in Qatar, you know, I don't know if you know, I think we talked about it before. We were trying to figure out in terms of how can we put a festival together. Doha Film Institute, I mentioned too, they have done a superb job in Qatar. It has been and now they've turned into a youth film festival as well too. But they have just developed 2 years ago. I ended up meeting the CEO, Mr. Ahmed Bakr, a Katara studio, which they're doing an amazing work in terms of the post. And I know they're also developing a lot of local series as well here too. So in Middle East, there's a lot of activity has you know, been happening right now in terms of the production. I'm going to talk about specifically in Doha. Give me the opportunity to learn a lot as well too, and then interact with the people. And now, because I went to the exhibitor side of it now, so I think this pandemic gave me an opportunity. You know, when the cinema closed, okay, you know, let me see what's going out there. You know, let's see what kind of productions are happening. And I ended up meeting a bunch of production houses here, and they're doing a great job. I know they're lining up a bunch of production as well too. So we will talk offline. I know there's a couple of studios that I'm working with. Maybe we can collaborate. We can bring some project in Qatar, or you can production that you can bring it out here. At the end of the day, I think the incentives, you know, when I sit down with the producers here or the studio owners here, you know, they ask Assad, you know, these guys are huge production houses or the post houses, bring the post here. Like, okay, I understand that, but for producers and for the directors to bring the project to the post, first, the traveling distance and time distance, we have to have an incentive. So they are actually working on creating some incentive and grid incentive. You know, I was told to, so which we'll talk. Otherwise, next thing I know, my email or the messaging will be bombarded. We'll talk. So there's
No, you're the perfect person for that. You know, you're the perfect person for that because your background is in post, so you know what you're talking about. And you know, you know exactly how difficult it is to, yeah, it would say, you know, incentives would definitely help to create that workflow and that opportunity. But maybe even co-production deals, you know, developing stories that take place in Qatar, in the United States, you know, maybe it's a crossover, maybe it all takes place in Qatar, you know, with some Hollywood crews, you know, and bringing people out there, do the story. But you know, all comes back down to the script and having
Right.
that as the blueprint, you
Blueprint.
know.
Right.
So, you know, generating that type of, I think what you've done by going out there is you've another market, you know, and more possibilities. And so, but you have to find the screenwriters out there or here who know about Qatar, and then develop that script and use that as the blueprint to create the cross, you know, the business that's going across, you know, from Hollywood to Qatar, and creating that bridge.
You know, I have several meetings at the some of the key players here who are in the industry. I have a very good friend of mine, became a very good friend. One of the biggest production houses who are doing major of all the A-lister advertising here, whether it's Arido, whether it's Qatar Airways, is called a film house. Omar Khalifa, who's the CEO, became a good friend as well. And he has briefed me a lot how the production works here, how number A in terms of the clients, you know, you know, and we've been talking a lot in terms of it, and he's actually was introduced me with the Katara studio, which I'll send you the link of the CEO as well, and we talked a lot. You know, what I see in Doha, I think they have mastered the skills of production. They have, like you mentioned, we're going back, you know, in Qatar, I was surprised when I visited the production house and the studios, the kind of an amount of equipment, what they have, I haven't seen it in States. I mean, it's all coming there, but you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, but you know, my question was with these guys, and they have, I think, you know, you're talking about again the script writers. So what the institute have done, you know, specifically, you know, they've, I must commend them. They've done a superb job. The Film Institute, they in 14 years, I think, they have educated, and then the emphasis has been in production, you know, training the producers, directors. They have I was surprised to know they know what the screen labs are, the writing labs are, you know, sessions, and you know. But my question was again to this: okay, great, you've got a great establishment right now, you've trained the writers now, and then I think now, and then what I think what the previously what they were doing it, and they probably have their reasons to it, and then you know they know what they were doing, is funding a lot of outside films, international films, which is
Mm-hmm.
great. You know, I think that has been stopped now. The effort is to how produce it locally, and that's what they are with the ThinkPad that I talk to pretty much. But what I'm also trying to educate, we all know how to produce a film. You know, we all learn now how to produce a film. I mean, you know, and then direct the film and get the production. I think where the elements that get missed, and a lot of independent producers or the young filmmakers, or even a lot of veteran producers, you know, how important the factor of when the film is done, what is the strategy of the marketing of the film? What is the strategy to getting it on
Yeah.
the distribution platform, getting in the, what is the key strategies to get it on theatrical? You know, it's not okay, I've done the film, I'm going to go to the film market and I'm going to meet the distributor, and I'm going to be on, you know, it's going to be released in 100 cinemas. Like, dude, one cinema is going to cost you about $1,500. So that means you're talking about 100, your film is $150,000 and you want to release the film in 100 cinemas. So they need to understand what is the dynamic of, after producing the film, you know, how are you going to take the film out on the, whether on the big screen or whether even also on a digital platform, whether it's Netflix, whether it's on Hulu. So I think that element we're missing in the Middle East region, which they have learned, and I know they're learning, and they're, you know, obviously money talks, and they have one of the studios that I know, they're very active, and they've hired key players in Los Angeles as well too, as we speak. So yeah, I get it. I think, you know, you know, Aman, it was really good talking to you, man. I miss talking about the production, Aman. You know, remember I had a lovely days with Aman hanging out at a lovely house. I remember we had some good New Year's parties together. at a beautiful house back in Cali. Lovely wife, dancer. I remember we used to have sitar going on. I still remember the last party we were in. How's the family, Aman? Talking about how are you guys dealing with it?
Everything's good.
How's it?
What I wanted to say though, but to go back to the what's happening in the Middle East is the opportunity is keeping it simple.
Right, yeah.
There's so many movies that have been made here that can probably be kind of redone in the Middle East. Whether it's like a bank heist, or maybe it's I'm just coming. Maybe it's like what could be a movie that you could just take a movie and keep it simple.
Right.
I mean, maybe it's a story, about a boy who it's a fish out of water story. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
maybe it's teen, and then doing it for the Middle East and doing it there, keeping it simple.
Right.
That's and kind of just making it for those markets there. You know what I mean? Because
What I feel, I
when
think, what I think, what I want to educate from the Middle East out of 3 years, I think Middle East is a big market in terms of from the distribution and number point of view. The numbers are huge here, and it's still. I mean, in the old days, Egypt was the number one when they're producing the films, and they used to do big numbers, $3 million, $4 million domestically, and talk about it. And they
Mhm.
normally, so there's still, I believe, there's a untapped market which needs to be tapped in. I know there's some political situations. I'm not going to go there, but I think with the political barriers, art and films have no language. And I think that's
Yeah,
one medium that can bring people together and the artistic together in terms of it. So
yeah,
I see a great opportunity, I think, in terms of see what can we do. And I would love to, when this pandemic is over, when the offices are open, it's not a lockdown situation per se, but still everybody is kind of in quarantine itself, obeying the law. We're hoping that end of May or June, things will start resuming. I'm going to start taking the meetings, and I would love to, and I'm already in a conversation with the production houses here. And maybe we see an opportunity to bring you guys from Hollywood to come to Qatar,
yeah,
or even open the dialogue, to start the dialogues in terms of what can we do together, and then you never know where it can lead to. We all have become very professionals. I've learned a lot in 20 years, and we're still learning. And I know Aman and your crew and friends, there we all have. I think we have paid our dues. That's what I'm
yeah,
trying to say. We're still, we're just waiting for somebody to believe in us. Yeah, we're an open book. Just Google it, in 20 years, our credentials will be there. I know your credentials are there, your crew's there. Now we just need to make it. We need to out there. We already done it. Just need to, somebody to believe in. Okay, here's the guys, here's the experiences, and and then move forward. I think
yeah,
I
yeah,
paid my dues. I know, Aman, you have paid your dues, and I know within our circle of, in our group, we all have paid our dues, and
yeah.
we're ready,
But
ready.
but I also about keeping it simple too, right?
Right,
Don't make that first one too difficult to achieve. Make it achievable. It's a simple. Like retelling the Goonies. Do you remember the Goonies? That movie?
yeah, yeah, of course, yeah, yeah, yeah,
Maybe we have kids from the Middle East who go on a treasure hunt.
yeah, yeah.
You know, adventure story, and so just keeping it simple like that. I'm not saying it has to be that, but I'm just saying it doesn't have to be
You don't have to create another Avenger from Middle East. You were saying, yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah, and something that's so grand and so crazy, where it's helicopters and spaceships and all this stuff. No, let's just keep it simple.
right.
Right now, about simplicity and keeping it simple.
Aman, it was a pleasure, man, talking to you. I miss all you guys there. I know
Um,
the struggle is on, but we are almost there. We have done it, and we will never stop, because this is the only thing what we know, brothers.
exactly.
This is what we do. We produce movies, or we market movies, or we distribute movies, or television shows.
Exactly.
Aman, good talking to you,
Awesome,
my friend.
brother.
Awesome, awesome. That was Aman Segal, guys. From California. Love you, baby. Catch you later.